Yeah.
Not going to affect anything. I don't see that happening at all.
No, what
My opinion, but that's, you know,
I guess I should try to explain myself a little better. The study that we did was a new study that was done. They did the measurements of the current traffic that's out there, and then they added in what we're going to get from the proposed dealership, and they said it would be about a 1.1 second difference in time. The previous study that was done, I'm referring to the previous traffic study that was done in 2004. They updated that. They took a look at that and got their numbers for peak stuff from that previous site plan, brought it to this, and then they showed in this new study that was done that we would generate 58% of what they anticipated before. And then they took the traffic counts from today and added those cars to it, and they said it would be about a 1.1 second difference in delay. So in Creighton Manning's opinion, there was no need to do any mitigation. Now, having said, I can talk to the DOT and let them know what you said. When we submit this into the DOT, we can have a conversation with them about something with the lights then and see what they think about what's going on currently. But based on what we're proposing, we're not going to make it any worse, is what I'm trying to say.
well, I'm not a traffic expert. I'm just a consumer and a driver there. So, if you're saying that they did a professional study and in their opinion that it's going to be like this, that's fine. I would ask any of the other board members, just as somebody coming in and out of that quick check, do you feel like it's that we could add to that?
I personally have to say I use that quick check frequently and I come in and out of it and I never have an issue.
Okay.
And
And maybe I'm just going at the wrong time. But okay, that's fine then.
might happen. You never know. I don't know. It's just like the one on Washington Avenue. You never know. It could be at different
Correct.
times.
That is correct.
Okay. Bruce, did you have a chance to look at Bernier and Larios' stormwater report?
Yeah, I took a look at their comments. There's a couple of things there I can address. Most all these comments can be addressed pretty quickly between me and him. I'm not sure if there was any comment in particular you wanted to discuss further, but I went through these and I can answer almost all these, right here, right now, if you want. But is there one that you're more particularly want to talk about, or?
Yeah, let me just find them. Well, in item one under stormwater, where the reviewer said, please explain the reasoning behind the mapping of soils being different.
Yeah, the web soil survey is just a general survey that's out there. It's based on Ulster County or all kinds of county surveys that are done. Those are just a general layout used for large tracts. Sometimes these tests that were done for those surveys were more than 5-10 acres, and they may only had one test pit. We actually dug soil test pits out there, and based on what I found in the soil test pits that I had, we found a sandy loam soil just to the east of the large rock outcrop that used to be there, and at the base of the hill that comes down. Then we found the same sandy soil on the west side of the rock outcrop that used to be out there. So when I drew my soil boundaries, I followed based on what we found for actual field tests versus just the generalization from the web survey.
Item two, where he mentioned there are no calculations for the pre-treatment methods for the infiltration basins.
Yeah, I can submit those calculations to him. We sized them based on what the flow rate from the infiltrators can handle, and I can give him those calculations.
Okay. And he mentioned item three that there were no test holes, Doug. Am I understanding that?
There was a test hole dug near the corner of number 4. It wasn't right in the middle of it. Number 5, when we called for the utility mark out, number 5 is in the lawn area between 9W and the landscaping that's currently out there.
Mm-hmm.
because of the electric that runs between the light poles, I didn't know where they were, and the mark out couldn't mark them out. I did not do a test hole right there. So yeah, we will field verify that once we get those water, not the water line, the electric lines figured out in there, and we'll verify that before construction.
I didn't know where 4 and 5 were when they were speaking of utilities.
Yep,
So can you just put that on with your mouse?
sure. Infiltration basin 4 is this basin right here, which is just north of the entrance. And we had a test hole that was in this corner, just off this corner. Infiltration basin 5 is in between the landscaping and 9W. And I couldn't dig I didn't dare dig a test hole without the utility mark out. They marked out all the other, they marked all the utilities, the water lines and the sewer and everything, but there was nothing marked for this electric.
I can't see any of the stuff you're sharing. I'm sorry. I just want to let you know.
Does anybody else see the plan?
I can see it fine.
I can see it.
Okay.
What may have, if you can correlate what you're showing, and we may have access to the Romeo Dropbox, if you could tell us, we can follow along in our personal devices here. It is a little tough to see on some of the smaller screens, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm only on the iPad tonight, so it's really hard. I'm usually on a computer.
I can tell you it's on sheet SP. If you can get to the Dropbox, it's on sheet SP4.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Like I said, infiltration basin number 5 is this basin right here. And like I said, I just didn't dare dig a test hole at this time, not knowing where the electric was for the existing light poles that are out there. But like I said, we'll dig a test hole there before construction.
Okay. Item 4, cited a minimum setback for infiltration 25 feet, and the proposed plan shows just 19 feet. Can you address that? Okay.
Infiltration basin number 1 located up here in this half gravel parking area and half paved area. The distance from the edge of there to the building is 19. I can probably slide that over to make the 25. Normally that setback requirement is because of, you got basements and things like that, and you're worried about the water getting potentially affecting the basements. This is a slab on grade with just a frost wall, so I didn't think it was that critical, but I can probably shift it over to 6 feet to make the 25.
Okay, board members, do you think that's necessary given the explanation you just gave that being on slab, it's not going to affect a basement?
I'm good with that. This is
Me
Andrew.
too. I'm good with that.
I have no problem with it. I'm put here.
Okay. So yeah, I don't think you need to move it.
Okay.
I have one question. It's a pretty full site. Where do you put the snow?
I can go back to the site plan.
Excellent question.
The snow, we're gonna be able to, we'll have to move some of these cars around, but there is some room for snow. We can pack the snow around the back of these cars on site there. And then if it gets to be too big of a problem, they'll just have to truck it off. But I think for most snow events, we'll be able to push it along the back of this property line here to the east of the rock outcrop.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep. Item number 5 on the comments.
Okay.
He asked for the site topography to be shown on the utility plan as well. I don't normally do that just because it gets hard to read when that's all on there. We did go back up one more page here. I do have the topography shown on the grading plan, and which shows all the rims of the structures that are there. If that's what he was wanting to check out. But again, I'll talk to Dennis to see what he was looking for there. But again, I don't show that normally for clarity, but there isn't a lot of topo lines here, so it may not be an issue.
Okay. Fine, thanks. Item 6,
Yeah, I tried to find a routing in the model and it didn't make any difference. The results stayed the same, so that I didn't, there was nothing more to do for the CAD program there.
can you briefly explain what he's saying?
Yeah, what he's saying there is in the model, it should, because we're infiltrating into the ground, so the model starts infiltrating the stormwater at time 0. So it looks like it's already infiltrating water before the water actually even gets there through the pipes. It's very small, minuscule difference in the amount of water that's being traveled through there. I did the finer routing on there, try to get it down to like a minute, and it didn't make any difference to what I did in the model. It shows that first instantaneous water going right in the ground before the water actually even reaches there. And and a lot of that's because the time of concentration is so quickly for the paved areas and the catch basins. It's not a lot of time. It doesn't take a lot of time for the water to get from the catch basin to the infiltration basin. So that's probably why the results didn't change when I played around with the timing on there.
Okay. Are you going to explain that to
I'll
Paul?
explain to Dennis, yep.
Okay.
Comment 7, basically what I was doing there with the irregular geometry, I was just trying to model the curb out along 9W because the water flows, on the road out here, it flows along the curb until it hits a catch basin. So I was just trying to model the water flowing along the curb, with the 1-on-1 being the curb and the 1-on-8 being the shoulder that was going through. Again, I can discuss that with Dennis, and it doesn't affect the results in any way.
Okay.
The NOI, yeah, I don't normally fill them out until I make sure that they're happy with what's going on, because they submit them electronically now. So I'll fill that out, and I'm gonna have to get the town signature on it before I can submit it anyways, on the MS4 acceptance form. So we'll take care of that. The fill for the storm tech units is basically, it's the pavement. So we're gonna have item 4. We'll have crushed stone 9 inches over the top or 6 inches over the top of the units. Then we'll have item 4 and then blacktop. I can spec that out on the detail sheet.
Okay.
Item 10, it talks about the stormwater that flows into the catch basin that goes across Quick Check. Basically, when this plan was originally approved back in 2004, the stormwater from this lot was to flow into this catch basin and flow through the storm drain system out to the state system. There was also another catch basin back here that connected to that and then flowed through here and went out to the state system. This catch basin is on our property. That's how it was designed back in 2004. And that's what we're doing now. We're basically using that catch basin to take the stormwater just from this corner of the parking lot and whatever's existing back here, which already goes into this catch basin, and we're going to put it in here and let it go through. The original site plan had a note on there that said, cross access, because we got the cross access easement from the front, and any utilities and maintenance, is all subject to those parameters.
Okay.
The sanitary sewer, the grease trap, they want to filter on the grease trap, I can put that on there. And then the invert elevations, I show them on this sheet here. I have a table with all the inverts, ins and outs, and pipe sizes, but I can add that to the detail sheet as well.
Okay.
So that's basically the comments from Bernier and Larios.
All right. I think you've sufficiently answered all those comments. Any other questions regarding this from the board?
I'm good with them. Almquist here.
Okay.
County,
thanks.
Larry, The county had suggested a row of trees in the front. I don't see them on there.
No.
Yeah, that was gonna be the next item.
I'm sorry.
Uh, yeah, I mean, we had this conversation back, I think we had one live meeting.
Right.
On how we don't like trees and new cars don't like trees for the paint out front. So that was something we weren't thinking about doing, was extending those trees out through the front here. We did show a little bit of landscaping around the sign area there. And then we showed the landscaping in the back that we said we would give the neighbor for screening in the back, but that's something.
So is it just that you don't want the trees to obscure people seeing the display, cars on display, or are you saying that?
It's more of the paint. It's the leaves falling on the paint issue in the fall.
Yeah.
And there is, they're in the business of selling cars or selling their product, which is cars. And there is that issue as well as far as visibility.
Right. So is there some kind of soft landscaping, low type of shrubs we could do in addition to the, around the sign, maybe some similar type low plantings?
I can discuss that with my client and see, unless she already has an idea. I don't know if Lucia is out there somewhere.
You could use some ornamental grasses across there. They don't mind being pushed down in the winter time, and all they need to do is be cut back in the springtime.
None of our other dealerships have anything in front of their cars. And I can tell you, as a car buyer, I bought a car that was under a tree, and I have scratches all over my car. So I get the concept of not wanting trees or any shrubs around cars, but maybe around the sign would be preferable, but not along where cars would be lined up.
Well, they do have, looks like 5 small plantings around the sign. Right there, right?
Yes, correct. Right.
So, but I agree with Frank. If we did some of the ornamental grasses, they're not a lot of maintenance, and I don't think they're going to cause any problems for the paint if we did it.
None at all.
Along there.
I agree about ornamental grass. I agree with that. Yes.
If you could talk to your client, we'd like to see that.
Okay, I can talk to her and see what we can figure out.
Okay, thank you.
Gary,
Go ahead.
it's Dave Church.
Yes, Dan.
So you have the issue that the county made that a required modification, the street
Right.
trees.
Yeah. So we will have to override that if that's the pleasure of the board.
Correct.
Absolutely. None of our other dealerships have street trees. That's uncalled for.
Yeah, well, part of it is to stay consistent with the Route 9W corridor enhancement plan. And of course, if you read the county's comments, they were very pleased with the street trees that Quick Check put in and the landscaping. And I mean, that's the desired effect we're trying to bring about on that corridor. But I agree, across the street, Romeo does not have any trees, and I don't believe Honda has any, or
Toyota, or
That's
Subaru for that matter. So,
yeah.
I mean, you can't really, you got to go one hand out of the other, and that's just the way it goes.
The corridor enhancement plan mentions as an alternative to street trees, low-lying plantings.
Okay.
So maybe that's, Bruce, something you could look at options for.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that might even get the board past a need to override.
Yeah, that would be a good, if we could do that. I suppose in a sense we're overriding the street tree required modification, but at least it would mitigate it in a sense. All right.
Or at least you'd have a explanation of why you're over. while
Right.
you're over.
Hello, this is Lucia. Can anybody hear me?
Yes. Hi, Lucia.
Hi there. Sorry about that. I've actually been here. I've been trying to unmute myself. We would be amenable to putting some low plantings, the grasses, anything like that, just not the trees.
Okay. I'm fine with that. Board?
Larry, I'm good with it.
I'm completely fine with that.
Okay. Right.
Okay. Gary, the county also wanted, it maybe be worth Bruce elaborating on the sign
Yes.
for the board's sake, because the county made a required modification, which I found rather vague, but nonetheless, it essentially says follow the town standards.
On the last page, this is not we're not going for a sign this tall, but this is the existing Kia sign at the existing dealership. This is what it looks like. So that's why I put this picture on there. Basically this is an internally lit up on the top here where it says Kia. That head right there is approximately, I want to say 35 to 40 square feet, given the oval shape. It's in that range of 35 to 40 square feet per face. This sign here, I think for that dealership, it's 15 foot tall. The next sign down that Kia has, it's a standard sign, is 9 foot tall. I think monument sign is 8 foot in that zone, but I'm not sure if you're calling it a monument or a allows I think it allows up to 20 for a freestanding. But that's one thing we wanted to talk about today is if we put the 9 foot sign in there, is versus the 8, or do we have to set it down a foot into the ground or something to meet the 8? I didn't know how critical that was, or if you wanted to call it a freestanding and go a little higher. As far as letting it go into 9 versus 8 for the standard.
Well, the corridor enhancement plan requires a monument sign. So if you could make it 8, that would suffice.
Okay, so if I was to recess this down to the ground a foot, and so the adjacent grade was 8, that would suffice.
Yeah. And it meets the square footage, I believe.
Yeah, I believe the square footage is 75 square feet, and this is, like I said, in the 35, 40 foot
Right.
range.
So any comments about that from the board?
I think a monument sign would be perfect there. That site is wide open and you don't need a big, tall sign.
I agree, Frank. Okay. David, any comment on your part about the signage?
The county again asks about the materials being defined.
I can get you some more information on the materials.
If you could just put it as a note on the sheet, Bruce,
Yep.
that would take care of that appears to be the only other requirement from the county.
Is that going to be an internally lit sign?
It's internally lit. The Kia portion is internally lit, yes.
Is there an attempt to lower the light level on that as the night progresses? We
don't-
wrote that into a LED sign proposal that the town has not accepted yet.
Okay. I'll have to talk to the sign manufacturer and see if that's a capability that we could look at here. Capable of dimming. And you're thinking after like 9 or 11 o'clock or something?
Something like that. Because that's the only bright spot out there, and driving up 9W, that would be a little, after you pass Quick Check, that would be an annoying bright spot in the driving.
Okay. I will discuss that with the sign manufacturer.
Appreciate that.
I'd like to make note that historically in the past, sign square footage has incorporated the entire sign from the ground to the top, including the base. when calculating square footage. Just to be aware.
Okay. So I got to figure out what the base is.
Well, if you're proposing an 8-foot high sign, I don't think it's going to be
I don't
9
think
feet wide.
I don't think we're going to be over, over the 75 square foot now. But if you're looking for,
The sign would be wider than it is tall, so I don't think that'll be a problem.
right.
Okay.
Okay, I think that, like I said, the only other issue was the lighting. We had the lighting plan. I'm not sure if anybody had a chance to go through the lighting plan. If there's any comments on that.
So the averages, does it meet the 2-foot candle requirement?
Where'd I go? I lost it. Bear with me. This is the table. I'm not seeing where the average is on here. I'm not seeing where the average is on here, but I was going to zoom in. You can see the light levels are pretty low. We're basically at 1/2 foot candle near the property lines. Out by the street, we're down to 1.4. Right under the poles, we're at 7, and then it fades out as we go across the site. So I believe we're under that 8-foot candle average through there. But I thought I had that on the print. I can verify that number with the light manufacturer. I can get that number.
Okay.
You said you were looking for 8 as an average?
No, 2.
2 is an average, I'm sorry. Okay. I guess I'm open to any other questions the board may have.
Board members, any questions?
I don't have any.
So we also had a lot line adjustment. I don't see where that was. Did we approve that?
I don't think we approved that yet, no.
Okay.
On the first sheet here, we showed these lot lines to be deleted.
Okay.
Gary, in Alan's prior review from some months ago, it was discussed keeping the lot line adjustment and the site plan bundled.
Okay.
But you could, it could easily be argued you have everything you need to approve the lot line adjustment right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Okay, if I could have a motion to approve the lot line adjustment as depicted in the site plan.
Tom Quist here. I'll make that motion.
Okay. Second. No second.
I'll second that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I didn't
Second by
realize it was muted.
I don't, Gary, one suggestion. I don't,
yeah.
Bruce, feel free to comment. You might want to condition it on the town board approval of the site plan.
Okay,
I'll
You know,
agree to that.
Who knows what'll happen? I mean, it appears that that's straightforward now, but
okay. So Frank, would you amend your motion that it would be conditional on town board approval of the site plan?
I'll make that change.
And I'll make that change for my second.
Okay. Discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Harry, aye.
I,
Opposed? Aye. Okay, it's unanimous. All right. Okay,
Okay, so,
Gary, you have the matter of when the board is ready to refer the site plan to the town board.
right. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it is complete enough to do that.
Well, prior to the Benir and Larios memo from today, I was suggesting wait for that. You needed to wait for that response and respond to the county requirements.
Okay,
Then you'd be ready. So arguably you're ready.
okay,
If there's no other substantive issues, I
don't.
drafted a resolution for referral.
all right. Before we go to that resolution, any other questions or concerns on the part of the board?
nope.
Almquist here, I'm happy.
Larry, I'm happy.
Okay. All right, David, would you like to read the resolution for the town board?
Sure. With your, I shared it with the board members. With your consent, Gary, I'll gloss through a couple sections.
Sure.
Okay, whereas applicant Romeo Kia dealership with consent of 64 Properties LLC seeks site plan approval with approval of lot line adjustment for construction of an 18,991 square foot Kia automobile dealership and associated parking, access, landscaping, and infrastructure. And the application includes a lot line adjustment to consolidate two parcels that are identified. Whereas the applicant has submitted a complete site plan and lot line adjustment application to the Town of Ulster Town Board and Planning Board, including a seeker environmental assessment form. Whereas Town Board, in coordination with the Planning Board, previously determined the Town Board was lead agency and typed the action as unlisted and initiated coordinated review under seeker. Whereas the application was referred under General Municipal Law 239 Ulster County Planning Board, who have responded with 2 binding comments, which we just discussed. And I repeated verbatim the binding comments in the resolution. Whereas applicant materials in support of the proposed action, and I won't read these, but there's 3 bundles of documents received, the first in February 2020, the second July 2020, and the third bundle most recently for this October meeting, which include dozens of documents that are listed. Whereas the planning board considered the application materials submitted by the applicant in support of the action, along with the comments of consultants via memorandum. Now therefore be it resolved, the Town of Ulster Planning Board recommends Ulster Town Board make a negative declaration under seeker for this unlisted action based on coordinated review with the planning board and others. Be it further resolved, the Town of Ulster Planning Board grants approval of the lot line adjustment, which you just did, element of this application, subject to Ulster Town Board final approval and conditions on same site plan, and as follows. Further be resolved, the Town of Ulster Planning Board approval of the lot line just inscribed as, we've got the usual conditions. I don't know, Gary, how you want to handle that with Gabby. The plat be filed and signed by you. They can't make any changes to the plat. This is specific to the lot line adjustment.
Right.
You could keep those in this resolution.
Yes, sure.
The final plat must be filed with the office of the county clerk within 62 days, and all fees shall be paid. And then to the site plan part, be it further resolved that the Town of Ulster Planning Board recommends that the Ulster Town Board makes final review of this application and grants conditional site plan approval for the proposed action, subject to the conditions, limitations, and restrictions set forth below. Compliance with any final comments as may be needed from the town engineer, town sewer or water department, and applicable fire district. And you've got the town engineers that have been taken care of, which also settled sewer. 2, compliance with comments of the Ulster County Planning Board. We may have to go back to that and if there's inclination to override. 3, compliance with applicable zoning and building laws, rules, and regulations. Compliance with all representations made by the applicant. Compliance with documentation, site plan designs, plans, and all details as cited herein. And 6, the standard, the town's planning consultant and building inspector are hereby authorized to approve minor site plan changes of a ministerial nature, which may arise due to unforeseen circumstances. And last, all fees, including consultant fees, shall be paid. So you have the item 2, county binding comments.
Right.
You'll have to amend.
So we would have to amend that we were overriding the street tree required modification. And how could we word it? In lieu of street trees, we are requiring low ornamental grasses in their place.
I'll make that motion.
Wait, Anna, is that sound like that wording will work, David?
If you want, you can just steal the wording from the corridor plan, which is low-lying plantings.
Okay, that's fine.
And then you're honoring the corridor plan.
Right, okay. Very good. So we can
One
insert,
question, Gary, I'm sorry.
go ahead, Larry.
The lighting, that's still conditional to be,
You could add
you-
that.
Okay, you were muted there for a little bit, Larry.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm saying the issue is still out there with the lighting plan being 2.0 or less. It has to be
Average.
verified.
So we could add that to a condition.
Yeah, that'd be my recommendation.
What's Romeo across the street? Out of curiosity, I can't remember. I could look back, but I'd rather just someone tell me if they know it.
I don't
I'm
recall.
not,
I don't remember.
I'd have to go back to my memory banks, but I think we did the displays area at a certain level. I just don't remember the exact number, but it was higher than 2. And then we did the storage areas in the back and by the service area, and those areas were at the 2 requirement. We also put the display areas on timers, so on motion sensors actually. So it's at a certain time at night, they would dim down and then they would come back on brighter if somebody was walking through the lot or driving through the lot at night for security reasons.
So do you have that same situation going on in Romeo? Across the street?
We have LED lights for here, and we will have that capability of dimming at night.
Okay. So Kia is gonna have the same situation as Romeo, Chevy, and GMC across the street.
That's what we're trying to do, yep.
Okay.
So David, can you handle the wording for that? Probably insert that above item 7, make,
So I'll insert a lighting condition.
okay. All right, and then make,
Okay,
Make the all fees, including consultant fees, shall be paid, number 8.
very good.
Okay,
And back to the county one, you don't need to overwrite the signage
mhm.
because Bruce has agreed to put a note on the signage materials.
Right,
So you're only overwriting the street trees.
street trees, right. Okay,
So I'm gonna have to bear with, can I do this tomorrow? Come up with language on number 2. Compliance with the comments of Ulster County Planning, I'm gonna wing it here. Planning board specifically to the signage. And however, and street trees will be substituted for low-lying plantings?
yes, and I'm going to need a motion to override the street tree.
I'll make that motion. This is Andrew.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, discussion? We'll do a roll call vote.
Painter,
Yes.
Mr. Almquist,
Yes,
Mr. Decker,
Yes,
Mr. Stavropoulos,
Yes,
Chairman Mulligan.
Yes. Okay. So we have the supermajority for that, okay? All right, well, so you can make those modifications and resubmit that to the board, but we can go ahead and vote on this resolution, understanding the changes that are being made. So if I could have a motion to accept the resolution with the changes that we've discussed.
Almquist here, I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Second by Hannah. Discussion. Roll call vote?
Ms. Hayner,
Yes.
Mr. Almquist,
Yes,
Mr. Decker,
yes,
Mr. Stavropoulos,
yes,
Chairman Mulligan.
Yes. Okay. All right, thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you very
Luke.
much.
Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much. We'll be in touch. I'm gonna try to stop sharing now.
Okay,
I think I did.
did well.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
You're welcome. Next item of business is Lincoln Park Grid Support Center. As you know, they just need a extension of the site plan approval. Is there anyone here from the applicant?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, all right. So is everybody understand what's required, what they're asking for? It's a simple extension of a prior approval. Are there any questions? Okay, hearing none. Can I have a motion to grant Lincoln Park Grid Support Center approval for an additional year? I believe that's the correct amount of time, Gabby.
Yes, it's for a year.
Right, okay, so it'd be till October 20th, 2021.
Almquist here, I'll make the motion.
I'll
Thank you.
second that, Larry.
Okay, discussion?
Have they paid the requisite fees?
I need to find a contact for them because Dave Young, I don't think works for Chazen anymore, who was their rep. So I have to find one of their reps and I'll get them to pay us.
Oh, I have a rep.
Okay.
So I'd like this made conditional on the requisite fees being paid, so we don't have this problem like we did in the past.
Okay.
Thank you.
That makes sense?
Any reason for the delay?
Multiple reasons, the biggest being that the product is unavailable. And the products that are
I rather
available,
expected that.
the products that are available are stuck in various ports for months at a time.
is that COVID related?
No,
Yes. Actually, it is.
Can we ease the fees for them or we don't want to do that? If it's That's beyond my scope, I guess.
Well, they had availability before this. And they
Good.
prolonged.
Yeah, that's a good justification to keep them as is then.
Okay, so if I could have a motion to grant a 1-year extension of the site plan for Lincoln Park Grid Support Center, contingent on them having paid the required fees,
I'll make the motion.
or conditional on that.
And I'll still second it,
Okay,
Larry.
so motion by Mr. Almquist, second by Mr. Decker. Any other discussion? Do a roll call vote.
Ms. Hayner,
Yes,
Mr. Almquist,
Yes,
Mr. Decker,
Yes,
Mr. Stavropoulos,
Yes,
Chairman Mulligan.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Next item of business, a similar issue with Johnson Route 28 site plan. In their case, they need a 62-day extension. They didn't get their plans filed in time. Any questions or discussion about that? Paul, any comment? I see you're here.
Yes, how are you, everybody? Yeah, it was a timing issue. I did not, I received the approval mid-August. I did not request from the school district till after Labor Day a copy of the tax cert that was submitted for me that the most current school tax bill on all properties needed to be paid before I could get the cert, and I could not get the tax escrow out of the bank to pay the whole thing in time. There's a bunch of substantial tax payments on those parcels. And again, it was a timing thing with the bank. I believe they're all paid at this point, so it shouldn't be a problem getting those. So sorry, I missed the cutoff.
Okay.
is 2 months enough time?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Can I have a motion to grant a 62-day extension to Johnson Route 28 for their site plan?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman, Larry.
Thank you, Larry.
I'll second this, Andrew.
Second by Andrew. Discussion? Hearing none, all those, we'll do a roll call vote.
Ms. Hayner,
yes,
Mr. Almquist,
Yes,
Mr. Decker,
Yes,
Mr. Stavropoulos,
Yes,
Chairman Mulligan.
Yes. Okay,
Okay, thank you, everybody. Gabby, let me know if there's any fees or anything due. You can just email me. Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Next, Scenic Hudson Samuel Watson lot line adjustment. We have the same situation. We just need to reapprove their application. Gabby, with a 62-day extension, right?
Correct, yes.
Any questions? Okay, if I could have a motion to grant a 62-day extension to Scenic Hudson Samuel Watson lot line adjustment.
Almquist here, I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ms. Hayner. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call vote.
Ms. Hayner,
Yes,
Mr. Almquist,
Yes,
Mr. Decker,
yes,
Mr. Stavropoulos, Mr. Stavropoulos,
yes,
Chairman Mulligan.
Yes, okay. That's approved, okay. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to.
Thank you.
You're welcome. New business, Glenary Cottages. Okay, the applicant is proposing to convert 4 cottages. I'm sorry,
5.
5 cottages to year-round, to a year-round structure, and also to remove one cottage that is in the floodplain. Is the applicant present?
Yes, I'm Anthony York.
Okay. And is that correct? Would you like to just let us know, just give us an idea of your plan?
Paul, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right.
Okay. We have 6 existing cottages that were seasonal, and we would like to upgrade those to year-round use. There'll be some 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom, and these will be apartments, long-term use. We have one of the buildings is in the 100-year floodplain, and that will be removed. And the others are above the 500-year floodplain area. So the intent here is just to remodel these existing units and provide year-round use to them.
Okay. Paul, you saw David's project review notes?
Yes, I did.
So he makes mention of the one cottage overlapping, minor overlap on the flood hazard area where the cottage to be removed is existing. How are you going to address that?
This is a very small encroachment on that area. I mean, we're just talking about maybe 2 or 3 square feet of a projection on that unit. And these are raised units, okay? They're off the ground. So as far as, I really don't think such a minor issue. And we're so close to the edge of that, we could probably rectify that as far as with the elevation of the cottage itself. Okay, the floor level will be far, will be above that mark, that 100-year flood mark. Okay.
I can concur with that. Any building that's in the flood fringe, we just do a survey on it. If the first floor is 2 feet above the base flood elevation for the 100-year flood, the building is fine.
Okay. Thank you, Warren.
Mm-hmm.
Gary, one of the members raised snow storage.
Yes.
The snow storage, we have plenty of acreage there in order to provide adequate snow storage. We have a lot of open area between the buildings. We have a lot of open area towards the Esopus Creek, not encroaching on the Esopus Creek, but we do have a site that's, let me see what the acreage is here. 4.7 acres, 4.7 acres. So we have 4 or 5 very small cottages within that 4.7 acres. That's almost an acre per cottage.
All right. Any other questions from the board? It seems the application is complete. I think the applicant has answered the questions I had and that our consultant has raised. I know he has prepared a resolution to the town board recommending that this is a type 2 action, not subject to seeker, and that the application can advance to approval. So if we have any other questions from the board.
I'm just curious, the data that was sent had a series of cottage styles, 2.0 through 7.0. What style cottage are going to be installed at that site?
The cottages are existing and the styles are 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom cottages. That's what it references. And they were attached, drawings were attached to the plans that show the configuration, the floor plan of each of the cottages. So we have a combination of 2-bedroom units and 3-bedroom units.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? David, any comments?
No, I'm good.
Okay, would you like to read the resolution?
Yes, so this is a resolution from planning board to the town board, as the town board retains authority to make final decision on this.
Right.
Whereas the applicant Glenary Cottages is seeking a change of use and site plan approval to convert and renovate a set of existing cottages from seasonal rentals to year-round residential rentals. Specifically, 5 cottages will be converted and renovated. And whereas the materials submitted to the planning board consist of a complete application for such approval, and whereas the town of Ulster Town Board retains authority to approve change of use and site plan in accordance with town code, while the planning board serves as an advisor to the town board. And whereas the proposed action was exempt from referral to the county planning board pursuant to their referral agreement with the town of Ulster as its site plan, as it is a site plan for a reoccupancy or reuse of existing structures, not increasing parking and not needing access to county or state road. And now therefore be it resolved, the town of Ulster Planning Board, based on review of the entire record, recommends the town board determined to be lead agency to designate the proposed action as unlisted and to declare a negative declaration warranted under seeker. And be it further resolved, the town of Ulster Planning Board recommends to the town board the granting of the change of use site plan approval, subject to conditions and limitations set forth below. Issuance of a negative declaration under seeker. 2, compliance with applicable zoning and building laws, rules and regulations. 3, compliance with all representations made by the applicant. 4, compliance with submitted site plan, design plans and details, noting that said should show the following: removal of a single cottage within the map flood hazard area. I don't know, Warren, B, we may not need any more. Flood mitigation or proofing standards for cottage D5, which is the one that had a minor intrusion in the flood hazard area. And C, provision of adequate snow removal and storage at the north end of Glen Erie Boulevard. 5, town's consulting planner and building inspector are hereby authorized to approve minor site plan changes of a ministerial nature, which may arise due to unforeseen circumstances. And 6, all fees, including consultant fees, shall be paid. So Gary, you have I guess I propose the removal of the middle item B on number 4, the flood proofing of the cottage D5. As long as Warren's is okay with that.
Now that would go through my department.
So we will remove that and we'll make 4C now 4B, provision of adequate snow removal and storage at the north end of Glen Erie Boulevard. Okay. Can I have a motion to accept the resolution as amended?
Almquist, I'll make the motion.
There's a second?
I'll second it, Mr. Chairman. Larry.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Discussion. Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Ms. Hayner,
Yes.
Mr. Almquist,
Yes,
Mr. Decker,
Yes,
Mr. Stavropoulos,
Yes,
Chairman Mulligan.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay. Let's see. Next item of business is urban precast. Okay, if you could just explain us what you're proposing.
Hi, how are you? Liz Mello, Mello Engineering. I'm the site
Hi.
engineer for the application. You want us to bring up the plan and share our screen?
Yes, please, thanks.
So this is an existing concrete manufacturing facility located on Kiefer Lane, 6 Kiefer Lane. And what we're proposing is a 3,533 square foot building addition to the existing building. And what it would do is it's going to provide enclosure of a batch plant that exists there and allow them to continue the operations over the winter. Right now it's exposed, it's on a concrete slab, and it allowed them to protect it from the snow and ice and cold temperatures. So the area already has the slab, so there's no increase in overall impervious area on the property. We did not come up with any variances that would be required for the addition, and it's not going to expand the current operation, it's just going to enclose a portion of it. I have the engineer from Urban Precast here, Louis Mello, and he can answer any questions you have specific to it.
Could you just go out a little bit? Is that, where is that? On the northwest corner?
It's on the northern side of the existing building, yes.
Other side. Okay, all right, I see now.
So the last time we were before the board, there was can you zoom in a little bit? There was a building addition that was done previously for the batch plant. And this is, so he's highlighting that now with his mouse, and then the addition is just below that.
Right, that was this area here, right?
This area here.
Yes.
Yeah. Gotcha, okay. All right. Any questions from the board? Our consultant raised the issue of lighting. Is there going to be any lighting on that additional building? Oh, I see. I'm sorry. You have a wall-mounted light,
Yeah, we do have one additional wall-mounted light on that building.
and that will be dark sky compliant.
Yes, it will be.
Good. Any other questions on the board?
None here.
Pretty straightforward. This has to be referred to the town for final approval.
Okay.
And so we do have a resolution. Dave, would you like to read that?
Sure. So this is a resolution for a referral to the town board. It also there's a required referral to the county planning on this one as well. However, it's essentially exempt from seeker because it's under 4,000 square feet as a non-residential facility. So it's a type 2 action. So no further action in seeker. So from the planning board to the town board regarding urban precast site plan amendment. Whereas the applicant urban precast seeks site plan amendment approval for construction of a 3,533 square foot addition to an existing building, and whereas the applicant has submitted a complete site plan amendment application to the planning board in coordination with the Ulster Town Board, including a submitted environmental seeker short environmental assessment form. And whereas planning board agrees that the Ulster Town Board has final review and approval authority for this application, now therefore be it resolved, the planning board recommends to said town board that this application for a non-residential facility involving less than 4,000 square feet is a type 2 action under seeker and requires no further review or action under seeker. Now be it further resolved, the planning board recommends said town board formally refers this application to the Ulster County Planning Board for review consistent with the Ulster County Planning Board Land Use Referral Guide and New York State General Municipal Law 239.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to accept the resolution?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman, Larry.
Okay, motion by Mr. Decker, seconded by Mr. Almquist.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Ms. Hayner,
Yeah,
Mr. Almquist,
Yes.
Mr. Decker,
Yes.
Mr. Stavropoulos,
Yes.
Chairman Mulligan.
Yes. Okay, thank you, folks.
Thank you very much. Have a good night. Stay safe.
Take care.
you too.
Next item of business, Adams Fair Acre Farms, site plan amendment. So this is pretty straightforward, Adams. I don't know if there's a representative from, I see Mr. Adams, you're here.
Yeah, hi, Ed Clavey also.
Okay, Mr. Clavey, I see, okay. So yeah, this is pretty straightforward, just doing a slight renovation of the facade, not expanding the footprint of the building. We did ask them to come before the planning board for site plan review. And if you want to just go ahead and explain briefly what you've done.
Yeah, on the interior of the building, we were doing a renovation, trying to expand the produce area and some of the interior. We ended up moving the entrance about 25 feet towards the south end of the building. After we moved the entrance over, it became pretty obvious that the customers were entering the building without a canopy overhead, where ice and snow could build up, and it just didn't look quite right to the front of the building. So the Adams asked to see if we could put a porch roof basically over top of the new entrance, and it basically just mirrors the other side of the main gable that's already existing. There's a porch all the way on the north side of the main gable, and we were just kind of mimicking that on the right-hand side of the gable to make it look right and make it better for the customers. It is over an existing sidewalk. It's not impeding on the traffic or anything like that. So it was just basically a simple porch roof.
So I assume the board members have seen the elevations of the proposed change.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Any questions from the board?
No, none.
Okay.
So I'm curious why we didn't know about the door changing prior to this.
It was basically a renovation within the building. We didn't step outside the footprint of the building. Everything was under the existing roof line. It wasn't until after we had done some of the renovation for the main entrance that we realized that they could really use a canopy over top by the main entrance, which code-wise, you're supposed to have a canopy. It is covered, the doorway, but if you shop at Adams, you realize there's a big sidewalk. It's about 8 or 10 feet deep. Without a covering there in front, people are standing in line to get in the door, picking up carts and stuff, and they're standing in the rain and the snow. So it became evident that we needed, a little extra canopy over the outside of the building, which got us outside the permanent structure that was already there.
So the facade changed, but we don't know about that until now.
The facade, excuse me? Oh yeah, no, you can't, no, we moved some of the stuff in the facade, the windows and stuff, but the front of the building still looks the same from the road or even from the parking lot.
I've been there. It doesn't look quite the same. I shop at Adams. It's not quite the same.
Well, originally we thought it to just be a function within the building department because they were just strictly, in a real sense, remodeling without expanding the footprint, at least the footprint of the canopy. But in further discussion, we decided it would best to do a site plan review and That's why those folks are here tonight. So, but it certainly is in keeping with the design of the building. I think it's, in my opinion, it looks good. I don't know what the other folks think.
No, we're there at least once a week, and it's going to add a lot to the building.
Okay. David, any comments?
No, nothing substantive. Procedurally, this, you can go towards approval on this tonight.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's see. So I didn't see a resolution, but
Yeah, I got one.
you do. Okay. All right. I missed that. If you would read that, please.
Sure. Gabby, do you have that? Did I get it to you?
I believe so, but I have to double check at work.
Okay. All right, here we go. Whereas the applicant, Adams Fairacre Farms, seeks approval for a front west facade improvements to an existing building, including a new walkway canopy roof, concrete pad and modifications to facade, and other associated improvements. And whereas the materials submitted in support of the action include a consent form, escrow agreement, signed, complete application for site plan amendment, a short environmental assessment form, and a site plan including exterior elevations, building canopy sections, rib structure and foundation plan, and canopy structural plan prepared by DF Valenti, architect planner, dated 9/10/20. And whereas the Town of Ulster Planning Board retains the authority to approve the site plan amendment in accordance with town code. And whereas the proposed action is exempt from referral to the county planning board pursuant to their referral agreement with the Town of Ulster. And whereas the Town of Ulster Planning Board, upon review of the entire record, determined the proposed action is a type 2 action and no additional action is required under seeker. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town of Ulster Planning Board hereby grants conditional site plan approval for this proposed action subject to the following conditions, limitations, and restrictions. I'll cross out my first one if whoever's looking at the draft, because Gabby and I had a little dance with county planning, but this morning they said it wasn't referable. So there's no need for compliance with their comments. Also, the first condition is compliance with applicable zoning and building laws, rules, and regulations. 3 becomes 2, compliance with all representations made by the applicant. 4 becomes 3, compliance with site plan, design plans, and all details as cited herein. 5 becomes 4, the town's planning consultant and building inspector are hereby authorized to approve minor site plan changes of ministerial nature which may arise due to unforeseen circumstances. And 6 becomes 5, all fees, including consultant fees, shall be paid. That's it.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the resolution as read?
I make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll
Second.
second it.
All right, thank you. Discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Ms. Hayner,
Yes.
Mr. Almquist,
Yes.
Mr. Decker. Mr. Decker?
It looks like he's saying yes.
Yep. Mr. Stavropoulos,
Yes.
Chairman Mulligan.
Yes.
I was saying yes, I'm sorry.
It's okay, yeah, Larry. I saw you.
Okay. You're all set. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too. All right, next item of business, Tibetan Charities site plan amendment. Just bear with me for a minute. Okay. So another very straightforward application. They wish to put a post and panel sign in front of their thrift store on 623 Route 28. Is there a representative? Mr. Drago. Okay. Gabby, can you unmute him?
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes. Hi, Steve Drago, President of Tibetan Charity.
So just explain us briefly what you're looking to do.
Do you have the project application review?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And that there should be a rendering of the sign done by Timely Signs.
I don't have that. Anybody else have that?
I don't,
What was that, Andrew?
I don't have that.
Yeah, okay.
It's basically installing a V-carb sign.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's with the application.
Terry,
Okay.
it's on my screen if you can let me
Yeah.
share.
I see it. Sorry, Mr. Drago, go ahead.
So that's the sign. It's somewhat of a monument sign. There'll be some shrubbery there. The changes from that drawing is it's going to be uplit, and which we showed to Warren Tutt, and we will comply with the lighting ordinance, to have the proper shrubbery there, that it won't affect oncoming traffic. And we'll be doing the electrical to code and putting it into code with the proper setbacks. We also submitted a survey showing the location, and we spoke to Department of DOT, Dave Corrigan, and they require a 40-foot setback from the center of the road, which this complies with, and basically the application review, recommends, says everything's in order and recommends approval.
Right, the proposed sign is 32 square feet, 8 feet high, which is well within our maximum.
Right.
And if setback is in compliance. So this is a type 2 seeker action, no further review required. David, any comments?
Well, Steve, you want to explain the lighting? You just
The lighting will be LED spot lighting on the sign, and they will be placed in the perimeter of the base there, shining up. It won't be top down lit, and shining against, and there'll be one LED spotlight on either side of the sign.
Okay. Can everyone see the rendition of the sign?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, good. All right, so any other questions from the board?
Got it.
All right. David, do you have a resolution?
Yep. Ready?
Yes, I am.
Whereas the applicant, Tibetan Charities, seeks approval for a new freestanding double-sided post and panel sign fronting and advertising the Aid Tibet thrift store at 623 Route 28. And whereas materials submitted in support of the proposed action include consent form signed, escrow agreement signed, complete application for site plan amendment, and a short EAF, as well as a sign plan for sign, which is 2 sheets showing the sign elevation and details, as well as the sign superimposed on a photo of the site, both prepared by Timely Signs. And whereas the Town of Ulster Planning Board retains the authority to approve the site plan amendment in accordance with the town code, whereas the proposed action is exempt from referral to the County Planning Board pursuant to their referral agreement with the Town of Ulster, Whereas the Town of Ulster Planning Board, upon review of the entire record, determined the action is type 2 and no additional action is required under seeker. Therefore, be it resolved, the planning board hereby grants conditional site plan approval for the proposed action subject to the conditions, limitations, restrictions set below. 1, compliance with comments from the Ulster Planning Board, which we could strike. Sorry about that. So 2 becomes 1, compliance with applicable zoning and building clause, rules and regulations. 2, compliance with all representations made by the applicant. 3, compliance with site plan design plans and all details cited herein. And 4, town's consulting planner and building inspector are hereby authorized to approve minor site plan changes of a ministerial nature which may arise due to unforeseen circumstances. And 5, all fees, including consultant fees, shall be paid. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion to accept the resolution as read?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. This is Andy.
Okay, Mr. Almquist's motion. Mr. Stavropoulos, second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Could I have a roll call vote?
Ms. Hayner,
Yes.
Mr. Almquist,
Yes.
Mr. Decker,
Yes.
Mr. Stavropoulos,
Yes.
Chairman Milligan.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Drago. You're all set.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You're welcome. Next item of business, Vincent Organtini, major subdivision.
Hi, good evening. Can you guys hear me? Mike Viteri here.
Yes, we can. Hi, Mike.
All right. Hi, how you guys doing? Tonight I'm representing Vincent and Lorraine Organtini with a 4-lot subdivision located off of Esopus Avenue. It's SBL 48.49 Block 1, lots 18.110 and 18.120. The Organtinis have 2 lots there totaling 1.308 acres. They're proposing a 4-lot subdivisions. Lots will respectively be 0.303, 0.309, 0.305, and 0.313. All of these lots are nearly 3,000 square feet over what is required by zoning. We are entering with this design on the eastern end of the property for site distance purposes. That is most definitely the greatest place to enter here. The road is under 100 feet, so due to town code, we don't need a turnaround, but we are proposing a turnaround with a private road and a maintenance agreement. We have a hammerhead, obviously, as you can see on the plan, and we are basically trying to keep the road under 100 feet so we don't have to technically have some kind of turnaround, yet we are proposing one with a shorter than 100-foot road. We are serviced by sewer and water, so none of that becomes an issue. Other than that, it is pretty straightforward.
I put the plat up. Can people see that?
Yes, thanks. Can everyone see the plan?
Larry, yes.
Okay.
Mike, did you get the comments forwarded from John Rose in the Water Department?
No, I did not get those. Was that something that was set forth, or?
I'm not. We sent it to him as a preliminary.
Okay.
And he'd like to know how you propose to get water to these 4 parcels, since each line cannot cross another parcel.
We could potentially either run it up the road, which should be no problem, as Mr. Organtini obviously owns Ulster Excavation. So our most likely way of getting it up there would be through the private road, which would be an easement for water and sewer. Otherwise, if necessary, we could have a potential easement through what would be lot number 1, but I don't believe that's going to be required. We will leave, I will discuss that with Mr. Organtini, but I believe that we will use the road for the purpose of water and sewer.
Because lot 1 already has its own service. And there was a service to lot 3. So we have to come up with 2 more services. And I believe the water line is on the opposite side of Esopus Avenue.
Okay, well, I mean, that to us, that's really not a big setback. I mean, we will get the water and sewer in there, and we will have the right of way to enter in with the water and sewer, the private road. So that, I mean, getting the water and sewer in there at any point would be most likely through the private road, which should not be an issue. You know, as I see it right now, that the easement would be an encumbrance on lot number 1, which we would definitely, you know, try to avoid if at all possible. But yes, getting the water and sewer in there would come in the proposed road.
Okay, I just wanted you to be aware of it.
Okay.
Okay, so Mike, so that'll be all laid out on the site plan.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're gonna have 2 more meetings here and hopefully move forward to a preliminary public hearing. But yes, if you would like me to show the water and sewer connections through the private roadway, I mean, that is no problem. We can revise that for next month.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good.
And also keeping in mind that, yes, lot 1 with all the road frontage will not have to have you know, a water connection through the private road. They'll connect right, they'll tap in right on Esopus, but lots number 2, 3, and 4 will connect to water and sewer through the easement. Private road easement.
Okay. Any questions from the board at this point?
I get just one question on the water and sewer. So those will be new laterals servicing each of the proposed properties. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And that would probably be part of the, well, a maintenance agreement, I would imagine, similar to the road maintenance agreement. Since it'd be
Generally, I don't believe there's a required maintenance agreement for water and sewer, but it'll be a right of way technically for everybody. So the right of way will not only be for ingress and egress, but it will be a right of way for water and sewer. And in the past, we generally include the verbiage to clarify that not only will this road be for ingress and egress, but for water and sewer.
So if something breaks in that, underneath that road, then the town would repair it?
That question, I'm not quite sure how that works with a private road. So that would be a question that would have to be answered by the town. How does the town handle that? I'm not sure, but I mean, we can certainly find an answer to that as we move forward.
Typically, Frank, from the curb cut to the house is the landowner's responsibility. So I don't know if they're going to put 4. Well, they already have one. They already have 1 curb stop for lot 1. So I don't know if they're going to propose 3 curb stops for the other 3 lots at the street line, and then the sewer line once it enters the property, that's also becomes the landowners. So basically, the maintenance agreement would be that if anything happened to any of the properties, they have the right to maintain their utilities on that road if they have to dig it up.
Yes, exactly.
Do we have an agreement for that? Because we have had roads that were private in the past that have now become town responsibilities.
As we move forward, yes, we will certainly supply you with a maintenance agreement prior to any kind of approval. At this point in time, we generally don't do it because we include a legal description along with the maintenance agreement, and we need some kind of preliminary plat approval prior to creating a maintenance agreement, as if the location was to change, the maintenance agreement would technically change its location. So based upon the design, as we move forward, we can create a maintenance agreement, which should be no problem, and we will have that in time for an approval. But that is something that we generally hold off slightly until we get some kind of inkling that our road design and everything is okay, in order to describe it mathematically within the maintenance agreement. So the short of that is that along with the maintenance agreement, there is a legal description of the road that is included in the maintenance agreement. And once we get an idea that the road location is good, we then can move forward with a maintenance agreement.
And what about the flood zone down there? What are we doing about that?
We're way out of the flood zone, like probably more than 30, 40, 50 feet out of the flood zone. So we're nowhere near that there, very fortunately.
But the creek is down there, correct?
Yeah, but we're probably 2,000 plus feet from the creek.
But that whole area was full of water. Like,
Yeah,
They're at the
correct.
top- they're at the
Orlando
top of the
Street
hill.
and the lower part of Esopus Avenue does tend to take on water, but where we are there is on the higher portion of Esopus Avenue. We are way up higher. We are yet above the driving range and all of the body shop and so on, which is down there. We are definitely by far way out of the flood zone. We have no potential for flooding where this particular proposed subdivision is located.
I still think we need to have some type of precaution for that. I'm just saying.
I mean, I can give you an elevation and give you a base flood elevation there just to prove that it's out of, but I mean, that's not nearly a concern for us there. I mean, if you would like some kind of proof of it, that's fine. I can get you a copy of the FEMA map there, but I mean, in terms of being in the flood zone, we're nowhere near that.
I have the maps in my office.
Okay.
Gary, we could attach that map to the seeker documentation.
Yeah. All right. That's a good idea. So, David, any comments?
Nope.
Okay.
This is because it's a major subdivision. You got the multiple steps. So
Right.
you could, you're when you're ready, you can set a date for the preliminary plat public hearing.
Yeah, I'm wondering if perhaps we need one more meeting before we do that, so we can just see the water sewer.
I mean, I can revise that. I mean, if we have any opportunity to, we'd like to move forward to a preliminary public hearing. I mean, mapping the water and sewer is really not anything that is going to be detrimental to this project. I mean, that is something that is simple. And again, this is Mr. Organtini, who is very, capable of handling that. So, I mean, getting the water and sewer in there is not an issue. Us being in the floodplain is not even nearly an issue. So, I mean, those are very minor things. I don't think that would be any holdup whatsoever. I mean, technically what you're asking me to do is just draw where the water and sewer is going. So I'm going to draw water and sewer coming up the road. Mr. Organtini is going to develop it that way, and that would be the end of it. I could technically do that right now as we speak and have a revised plan to you in 10 minutes. I mean, we're not really, that's not really a major concern for this particular project, only because we have water and sewer right on the street, and we will tap into that, and we will follow the proposed roadway, and everybody will tap in that particular manner. That is really not anything that should be something that should set us back. I mean, if we can get set for a preliminary public hearing next month, I can certainly have these plans revised to show the water and sewer coming in. And also I can prove with a base flood elevation that we are out of the floodplain, also by attaching the FEMA flood center map to the plan.
Okay, good.
My only concern is the common use by the three properties in back of that joint water and sewer line that goes down the road. if there's any kind of a problem with that piece of piping, is it a town responsibility or is it the homeowner's responsibility? I can agree from the hammerhead to the house, to the home, that belongs to the homeowner. But all the way out to Esopus Avenue, who owns that?
Okay, well, based upon that question, I mean, this is a common situation where we're doing a private road with a maintenance agreement. So how does the town handle that? I mean, that is something that I'm sure the town has reviewed multiple times, as a private road is quite often common. So maybe Warren can answer to that, but I mean, there's got to be something within the zoning that explains how that is handled, due to the fact that this is quite a common process of creating a private road with water and sewer within the road.
Should Vinnie Majori weigh in on that? And also John Rose, just to see how they handle. I thought it was everything off the main is the homeowner's responsibility. That's just what I thought. I thought the lateral, anything that comes off the main lies in the homeowner's responsibility. But I think it'd be a good idea to have Vinnie and John Rose.
I agree with you, Andrew.
I've already talked to John, which preempted this entire conversation, because he wants 4 laterals, 1 for each lot. I did not have a conversation with Vinnie yet as to lot 1 is basically isolated on its own. It has its own water and sewer. So we're basically addressing lots 2, 3, and 4. I don't know if Vinnie will allow a single sewer lateral, perhaps 6-inch, to a point at the cul-de-sac to branch off to the other 3 locations. That's entirely his purview. But my understanding is it will not be the town's responsibility, except from the point of connection at the main, and then the point of the 4 corporations for the water lines.
So then on that note, we include within the maintenance agreement that maintenance of the water line and sewer line as traveled through the private road have become responsibilities of those who benefit from those particular lines. So, I mean, we can, if that is how the town would like to see it handled, we will include that in the maintenance agreement, stating that the lots 2, 3, and 4 have use of the water and sewer lines that are within the private road, and they will maintain that as part of their responsibility.
I will confer with both department heads tomorrow and see if they're agreeable.
Thank you.
That'll make me happy.
Okay.
Barry, I think it's Dave. I think one issue is, as depicted, the private road appears to be its own parcel.
Yeah, and that is very common also. I mean,
But the problem, I don't think you can create a parcel. It would be a non-conforming tax parcel.
I mean, what if it was a public road? Then what would happen?
Well, that's a whole different matter. There's different.
Yeah, so I mean, so what would you say then? We would have to go to the center and every lot would have to be part of it? I mean, generally, that's not how we've done it in the past. I will say, I mean, in creating a private road, we have always created it and described it separately with meets and bounds with a maintenance agreement. So, I mean, going to the center of the road to keep that parcel as one would not be, was not how generally we have done it in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I'm new to the town of Ulster, but this has been the many jurisdictional problem that these parcels are owned by no one 50 years from now.
Mike, can I weigh in on
That's
this?
what my question was earlier on, because we've had this problem with the IBM, and now we are having to maintain those roads that were once private. So that's my issue with a private road.
And they don't have maintenance agreements.
Who ends up who in the long haul ends up maintaining these roads when they're no longer private and not being maintained by the private entity?
The homeowners, lots 2, 3, and 4.
Not
Mike,
if it's a second homeowner. That's my whole problem. Not if it goes where they're not being owned anymore. That's my situation. So that's my question about private roads when they are no longer being maintained and no longer under an entity of a person like the IBM roads, who is going to maintain them? It's going to be the town. That's the question.
So
End of story.
I just want to weigh in on this. I think Mike is correct that there's no issue with a separate legal description of the private road. And I think that would be placed into the easement or the road maintenance agreement. But my recommendation is that one of the parcels owns the private road. Say lot number 2 owns the road. Lot number 3 and lot number 4 have a right of way to cross the road to get to their houses. And then there's a separate road maintenance agreement / easement, which states that the road is owned by lot number 2, but lot number 3, lot number 4 have the right to cross it. Maintenance will be divided between the 3 of them. Something along those lines. I don't want to see a separate tax parcel for this road. I think that creates some issues down the road. No pun intended. I think Anna's point, is a good one. We don't want to see this road just sit there. These properties go into foreclosure 20 years from now, and then someone buys it, and then they come to the town board saying, "Hey, town, you should really take over this road," when clearly that was not the intent. The intent was that the property owners maintain this road.
I mean, I'm going to let you guys tell me how you want me to move forward. I mean, it seems as if, this has changed from time to time as to how we've done this within the town. So, I mean, I'd really like a clear definition of how this should be approached. I mean, there's got to be something within the code, I feel like we're just, throwing things into the wind right now. And I feel like we've done this previously. So, I mean, a real solid answer as to how this should be handled via the code, would be really what we're looking for here. Essentially, because I feel like this changes from time to time when we do this. So I feel like a precedent needs to be set as to how we handle this. So I would appreciate somebody to clarify the code for us in terms of what we need to do in these situations, because it's a continual ambiguity as we move forward with developing in the town. It's a continual ambiguity as to how this is handled. And it has changed from time to time. If we were to go back in time, I feel like you're going to see many different precedents set in terms of these private roads. So, in terms of really getting this right, the code needs to be reviewed, and somebody needs to come up with a solid answer as to how these private roads under 100 feet are handled. That would be my suggestion, as to not flip-flop between one different particular situation and then the next. So
I'm not flip-flopping, excuse me. I'm just putting out there what's gone on in the past.
Anna, I'm not saying you're flip-flopping. I'm just saying the situation.
Let me finish, please. Don't interrupt me. So I'm just saying we need to be protective of our town. That's all I'm trying to say. It's not that I'm saying you can't have a private road. I'm just saying we need to be protected as a town, because in the past it has happened that we have had to take over private roads. That's all I'm getting at.
Yeah, no, and I understand that.
I'm not trying to flip-flop. I'm not trying to say that the code is wrong. I'm not trying to say what our town does is wrong, or that I want to change what our town does. I need to protect the town. That's why I'm on the board.
So Anna, can I just interject here? Is how does a design professional like myself move forward with trying to be financially moving forward, making money, when I don't have an actual set thing on what the town would actually require? Every time I come with something, it seems something has changed. So what I'm looking for is the town to give me an exact setting as to how they would like this, rather than me coming to you with a preliminary plan and saying, well, we don't really know. So that's where I'm going with it.
I think what we're doing is we're letting you know our concerns, and that's what you have to deal with. It's our concerns. It's not a code. Do you understand? It's called a concern.
I understand that, but that leaves a design
Don't
professional.
interrupt me. I didn't interrupt you. It's a concern. So that's how this works. We're
Alright,
telling you
if I
our concern. Excuse me. We are telling you our concerns, and that's how this works. That's how a planning board works. We're letting you know our concern is that later down the road that we're going to have to take over this property, which is a personal private road.
Anna, thank you.
I don't want, excuse me, I'm talking. I'm not saying I don't want a private road. I just want to know that in the future we will be secure and not having to then deal with this. That's all I'm saying. I think our town attorney already addressed this. So there you go. Just go from there
Okay.
and move on. Let's move on to something else. I think the plan is fine. I just am worried about the private road. That's all there is.
If I can interject, Larry, I have to agree. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I have to agree with,
You cut out, Larry. Larry, we can't
I
hear
don't
you.
hear you anymore, Larry. But I'll say I agree with Anna too. Very well said, Anna.
Thank you.
Larry, we cannot hear you. Okay, we'll move on, Larry. If you get your audio back, just let us know. All right, so at this point, we can set a preliminary public hearing, I believe, for next month. If I could have a motion to do that.
I'll make a motion for that.
Your second
I'll second. This is Andrew.
discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 I didn't hear everyone. Frank,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
I heard Anna. Larry, thumbs up if you can see us. All right, and I'll say aye. So that's 4 out of 5. Okay, so preliminary plat hearing will be at next month's meeting.
Okay, and in the meantime, I mean, I'm gonna need some real solid clarification as to how to move forward, because at this point in time, it's very vague as to what we're gonna be expecting for me to revise here.
Well, Mike, I to be honest, I think you heard it from Jason. The town does not want to see that road as a separate parcel.
Okay, so we include it with lot 4. That's it. The area of the road gets included with lot 4, and lots 2 and 3 have the rights to use it. That's fine by me if that's how the town wants to go about it. I just feel like that particular situation is setting a precedent right now with the town, and that's something that has to be considered moving forward, that this doesn't change again. And that's my concern as a design professional, that this has to be set in stone as of tonight. If this is how the town wants to move forward with this particular situation, I feel like this should be how it is continually. So that's something we can talk to Jason about. We can talk to Mr. Quigley about. So that's great. All right. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for the applicant? David, any comments, any other issues to address tonight for this
No.
application?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. All right. So we'll see you next month.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item of business, Joe Emanuel, site plan amendment.
Okay, so I'm here still. And as you guys know, 2017, we had an approval for a 4,500 square foot building, which we never moved forward with. We then proceeded with a proposed lot line revision back in August, which we ended up not moving forward with. We withdrew that proposal. We are now amending our 2017 site plan. Rather than having one building, we are adding an extra building. We are keeping the same square footage. We are dividing that between 2 buildings.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you see it now, Gary?
Yes, thank you. Go ahead, Mike.
It's the red outlines here are the, this is Dave, the proposed additions.
Right.
Okay.
So with that being said, we have two buildings there. Since this particular plan was created, we have added a proposed septic reserve area, which was always there. We just did not show it on this particular plan. We have made provisions for the largest truck that the town of Ulster Fire Department has to fit behind the building. It has a 42-foot and 4-inch turning radius. We've made plenty of space for that. What we are dealing with other than the septic reserve would be lighting. We are proposing 2 full downward LED dark sky compliant lights on each building. The cutout sheets, which I have, and I'm not sure that I can show you right now. If I say share screen, and I go to, let's see.
I've got to unshare, I think.
Maybe that could be what it is.
Want me to do that? I'll do that right now. Go ahead.
Let me see if I go share screen and then I go to,
Pick the file.
yeah, I got to find my file here though. That's my daughter.
There you
don't want
go.
to see that. All right.
I'm
So
sold.
all right, here we are here. Lighting cut sheet. So this is the, are you seeing that right now?
Yep, yep.
All right, so
Yes.
those are these are the lights for the buildings. There'll be 2 on each building facing the fence in the rear. Again, they're downward, full downward LED dark sky compliant lights. And we spoke to Warren about this morning. This is what the town would request. And in terms of a photometric plan, that's something we don't have in terms of the way the light will shine, but those are the lights for the building. We are proposing 1 pole light, which was asked to be required in the 2017 site plan. And this would be the cut sheet for that particular light, which again is downward dark sky compliant LED. Which is generally the status quo for the town of Ulster at this point in time. So we have these 2. This one here, I don't know, did I get that one up yet? All right, so those are our 2 lights. So Dave, back to the plan, if you don't mind.
No problem.
I'm going to stop sharing, stop share. And with that being said, the septic reserve will be behind the larger of the 2 proposed buildings. We have plenty of space for that. The existing septic is there. There's plenty of room for a reserve system. We have plenty of room to get the trucks in there. We had plenty of room in 2017. We proved that. The only difference at this point in time is we're splitting up the square footage. We are not changing the square footage. So that is basically the gist of our amended site plan.
Mike, where's the pole light going to be?
The pole light is going to be out, see on the along New York State Route 9W, it says proposed light pole. Cursor down to the left over here. Am I showing you this here, right over here in the corner, down a hair with the hand?
Oh, here.
Down over there, correct. So the town had asked us to install a pole light there in 2017. We are continuing with proposing to install a light there. That was the second cut sheet that I showed you. And with that being said, we have a total of 5 lights, 2 on each building, 1 pole light. And there is already existing lights there, which we had went through along New York State Route 9W, which we had touched upon in 2017. And that was when the town had asked us to add a light at that particular area.
And you're extending this fence, right?
Yeah, and the fence will be extended there. A privacy fence will be extended up along the edge there. So the entire rear of the property will be fenced.
Carry on. This is Dave. I'm good. He answered my questions.
Okay. So what is the proposed use of the 2 new buildings?
Storage.
Storage, okay. So the additional square footage will require, how's it going to impact parking?
We have, for starters, in 2017, we went through this. There's an ample amount of parking there. We were proposing at the time 20 additional gravel parking spaces, which is still being proposed. But again, this is being used for business storage. This will not create an abundance of new clientele or anything along those lines. This is basically essentially parts storage.
Okay. And your proposed parking will be here?
Yep, correct. 20 additional spaces along with the lamp that we showed the second cut sheet. So really the only changes from 2017 are the splitting of the square footage per buildings. Rather than having one large building, we are having one smaller and one medium-sized building.
Okay. So it just seems to me parking is tight on that parcel. And I only say that because when Mr. Emanuel was proposing to take over these lots, he mentioned parking cars there.
Yeah, but that would have required us to negate the proposed spots that we're putting up front. So that we would have never had those extra 20 spots if we had moved forward with the lot line revision. But now that we are going back to site plan approval, we are proposing 20 parking spots again, which were never developed due to the fact that we did not move forward with the 2017 site plan.
Okay.
Mike, what's the proposed square footage of the two combined buildings?
4,500 total.
So they only needed an additional 6.5 parking spaces being classified as warehouse space.
Yeah, and we approached that in 2017 and we had room for more than 20, but we added 20 just to be safe.
So this needs to be referred to the county.
It's a town board lead too,
Town board,
because of the square footage.
right. Just, so it looks like it's complete enough to do that. So a recommendation to the town board would be to be lead agency under seeker.
Yeah, I've got a quick resolution.
Oh, you do? Okay, I'm sorry. I just missed these last few resolutions. Okay.
Gary, I have one comment before the resolution's read. I
Sure.
know back in 2017, we talked about park stops being added in the gravel area to delineate the parking spots.
Mhm.
Parking's very tight there, like you mentioned. You know, with the gym going full force. Now it's a little different with during the COVID times, but when everything's up and running, a lot of the vehicles being worked on occupy a lot of the parking in the front, and the customers are forced to kind of go off to the gravel spots. And I think that in the site plan, we gotta show the park stops in the gravel area.
Yes, Andrew is correct. We did propose park stops in 2017 and we will honor that again with this site plan.
Thank you.
Any other questions before David reads the resolution? Okay, David.
Okay, so this is from the planning board to the town board as lead.
Right.
Whereas the applicant Joseph Emanuel seeks site plan approval for construction of 2 new storage buildings with stockade fencing extension. And whereas the applicant has submitted a complete site plan application to the Town of Ulster Planning Board in coordination with the Ulster Town Board, including a submitted seeker short environmental assessment form. And whereas the planning board agrees that the town board has final review and approval authority for this application, now therefore be it resolved, the planning board recommends that said town board be designated as lead agency and type the application as an unlisted action under seeker Now be it further resolved, the planning board recommends said town board formally refers this application to the Ulster County Planning Board for review consistent to the county planning board land use referral guide and New York State General Municipal Law 239. That's it.
I'm sorry. I know that we were supposed to say something before you read that, but I just remembered something from when we were there for the site plan to
No
look
problem. Yep.
for the lot line adjustment. We were told by the owners that they were going to expand the building for a tenant on the top in the back so they can have more room to work on cars. How do we know this storage that they're building now is not for that? I'm sorry, I just remembered that they said that when we were there, and we were looking at the property. I don't
wasn't there, so I
vote
can't
on something that is not correct. I'm sorry.
Are you talking about this building?
Yeah, if you recall, when we were there for the lot line adjustment, the owner said the reason why they wanted the lot line adjustment was because they wanted to expand. If you look down where if you go to the back line where lot 1 and 2 are, they wanted to expand that spot to make another, what is it, a lift for the body company or the body work company or car company, whatever it is, it's going like the company in the front. So they were going to put another hall in there. How do we know what they're building now is not for that and not just storage?
I remember he gave us like 4 different uses that he was going to do.
I know. I just
You
don't.
know?
I just
Yeah,
don't
so-
know how I feel about. I just don't know how I feel about everything right this second, because I was just thinking what he said when we were there. To us in person, to our faces.
So how about a restriction on the site plan for uses? I mean, if that's a concern.
I agree, Mike. I do agree with that. Because you can't have a lift in a storage unit for a car to do oil changes. You know what I mean?
That's not the intent. So I mean, I'm 100% sure my client would agree to that. That's not an issue.
All right, we'll work that out
Mike,
with
I hope
the,
you understand where we're coming from, because something that he said to us early on. I'm not trying to be rude, but I do.
Yeah,
want
I mean,
to make
restrictions is
sure-
fine.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
we'll work that out with the town attorney as far as the wording for that.
All right.
Amenable to everyone?
Otherwise, I agree.
Okay, so we had the resolution read. I need a motion. and a
I'll make a motion.
Okay, second.
I'll second it.
All right, any further discussion? We'll do a roll call vote.
Ms. Hayner,
Yes.
Mr. Almquist,
Yes.
Mr. Decker. Thumbs up.
I can't see him.
No, I
Does he
see his
respond?
Mr. Decker,
Like he's dropped off somehow.
Larry, can you hear us? Give us a thumbs up or a
He's
wave.
there, but he's not saying anything.
There we
he-
go, thumbs up.
there-
Okay.
There we go. We got a wave.
Mr. Stavropoulos,
Yes.
Chairman Mulligan.
Yes,
All right.
okay. Thank you.
We'll see you guys next month. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
So the final item of business is the Hill lot line adjustment. I see the Hills are on video. Do you have anything to say about what you're proposing?
Just to move the lot line from where it is now up to Sauk Hill Road. Currently, the owners own property on both sides that kind of got split up when Sauk Hill Road was put in, and now it's bordering our back property.
Okay. David, do you have the the drawing for that, perhaps?
Not
Yeah.
sure I have the digital version, Gary.
Okay.
I'll look. Gabby, can you remind me where?
Oh, I probably sent that out a while ago. I don't have my email.
Yeah, I mean,
here.
I have a print copy. I'm looking, but so keep going, Gary.
Yeah, okay. So this is basically making the one lot a conforming lot, which is, it was just desirable. There's no county planning board referral required. It's a secret type 2 action to grant individual lot line adjustment. It is an adjustment, not a subdivision. As David has mentioned in his review notes, it's very straightforward action addressing the lot size conformity issue. And so are there any questions from the board? David, any other comments?
No, none.
Okay.
In the adjoining lot that they're looking to consolidate a portion of from is a hooked lot separated by Sawkill Road. So it's the eastern portion of, I mean, the western portion of that lot that abuts their property that they're, so it improves the conformity of the Hills lot and doesn't impact the conformity of the other lot.
Good cleanup.
Yep. So hearing no questions, did you have a resolution for that?
I do.
Okay, thanks.
Ready?
Ready?
Whereas the applicant Nellie and Brad Hill are seeking a lot line adjustment in accordance with section 161, 9 and 10 of the Town of Ulster Code. Whereas the applicant proposes to add 0.385 acres from SBL 48.14-3-29.220 to SBL 48.14-3-39. And whereas the proposed lots comply with the minimum lot size of the R30 zoning district, and whereas pursuant to section 161.9 of the town code, the proposed action is classified as a lot line adjustment, which is subject to approval of the Town of Ulster Planning Board. And whereas the applicant materials in support of action include signed consent to file form and ESCO agreement, application for lot line adjustment, seeker short form EAF dated October 2nd, sketch plan lot line adjustment map of lot line revision prepared by Pretorius and Conrad dated October 1st. Whereas referral to the county planning board was not required to pursuant to the land use referral guide, since the proposed action includes fewer than 5 lots and access roads and structures are not situated within a 100-year floodplain. And whereas the planning board considered of the application materials submitted by the applicant and supported the proposed action along with comments of the consultants via memorandum, which are incorporated by reference. Whereas in accordance with chapter 161, section 161.9 of the proposed action is a lot line adjustment and no hearing is required. And whereas the planning board classified the proposed action as a type 2 action under seeker and no further action is required upon review of the record. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the planning board has determined that they have fully complied with the procedural requirements of seeker. Oh, help me out here. I've lost my page too. I got to go find it, Gary.
Okay. While you're doing that, I neglected to get a motion to declare this a seeker type 2 action.
I'll make that motion.
I'll
Thank you.
second that.
All right, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion's carried. Go ahead, David. You can find your page too.
Where'd we go? Where'd it go?
I don't know why I don't have that.
Well,
It's
uh,
further be resolved.
what's that?
It was further be resolved, the town board, there's only a few sentences than the four conditions.
Yes, the four usual conditions. Um,
Andrew, would you read those into the
Sure.
record?
Thanks, Andrew.
You're welcome. Further, be it resolved that Town of Ulster Planning Board hereby grants lot line adjustment approval as described above, subject to the conditions, limitations, and restrictions below. One, plat may be filed with the office of county clerk after signed by chairman of the planning board. No changes, erasures, modifications, or revisions shall be made to any plat after approval by the planning board. The final plat, the final plat must be filed with the office of the county clerk within 62 days of the date final plat is approved by the planning board. And 4, all fees, including consultant fees, shall be paid. And that was all of them.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
You're welcome.
Can I have a motion to accept the resolution as read?
I make that motion.
Thank
I'll
you.
second it.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote.
Ms. Hayner,
Yes.
Mr. Almquist,
Yes,
Mr. Decker. Give us a
I
nod.
think he's a yes.
Yep, Mr. Stavropoulos,
Yes.
Chairman Mulligan.
I'm
way to
sorry,
go,
I'm
Larry.
laughing. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I didn't
That
mean
was a
to.
yes on my
Love you,
part.
Larry.
All right, thank you folks for bearing with our 2.5-hour meeting,
Oh, it was a pleasure.
but you're all set.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank
Any
Stay
other
safe.
business
Bye,
to come before the board? Hearing none, could I have a motion to adjourn?
I make that motion.
Thank
I
you.
second.
Okay, discussion. Sure there's none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Opposed? Okay, the meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Good job, guys. Thank
Have
you.
a good
Stay
night,
safe,
everyone.
everyone. Thank you.
Technology's getting a little better.
well
Yeah.
done, Gary.
Nice
Little
job.
bit.
Good job.
Thanks. Be well.